Hi, welcome to another Cultivate Empathy talk. This one on managing your change fatigue because, friends, change fatigue is very real right now. In fact, 73% of people are reporting feeling some amount of change fatigue. And what that means is that we're so overwhelmed at work, especially, that we don't have space for things to keep changing. We're getting more and more anxious and checked out and unable to function and unable to be our best selves. And guess what? That runs completely counter to who we are as people, right? You're here because you are a badass, highly competent leader yourself, right? And we're going to get into how do you manage change fatigue for yourself, but also how you show up for your team so you can help normalize managing change fatigue as you're also implementing more and more changes. Because let's face it, now that we're in the age of AI, this whole transformation thing is not going anywhere. Things are only going to keep changing faster and faster. So we can't change the world. We can only control how we show up. So with that, if you're new to the channel, hi, welcome. I'm Candace. I'm the founder and CEO of Cultivate Empathy. I also am an organizational anthropologist with more than 25 years experience building and leading businesses. I also am a certified emotional intelligence coach, and I provide solutions to highly competent leaders like yourself to support them through these kinds of massive transformations, or to help with team dysfunction, or just help you have a little bit more peace so you can show up as your best self at work more frequently. So I want to take you back in time with me to kind of set the stage, because change fatigue is often hidden. And I'm guessing you're here because you're like, change fatigue, that might be what I've got. Well, a year ago, March of 2025, I was experiencing change fatigue, but I didn't have the words for it. So what it looked like on the outside, that I was incredibly capable, very successful, being my total badass self. And I was even at this trade show. I had a booth here at this event called Transform, which is a HR event in Vegas. And I was having great conversations. I really was getting tons of compliments on my fits and on my booth, and I was striving to create the kind of experience that I give to my coaching clients, one that is very personable, very open, very warm and inviting, so that we can have those sort of more meaningful and deep-seated conversations to drive internal transformation. And so that's the booth that I created. And here I was, seemingly at the height of my powers as a girl boss, right? Internally, what was happening was I was dying inside. So, thing is, friends, highly competent people, we are very good at masking. We are really good at pretending like everything is just fine, even when it's not, even when we're falling apart, even when we feel like just one more email and I'm gonna blow my top. You send me one more Slack message and I'm gonna throw my laptop across the room. Even when that's happening, we hide it. We don't share it. We suppress it, right? I had done that too. Even though I'm a person who has deep self-awareness and has a monster practice on managing and regulating my emotional state and making sure that I can always show up for people without expensing myself, without the expense of my own sanity. So even though that's true, no one could tell on the outside, and I was having a hard time coming to terms with it on the inside. So change fatigue looks different for everybody. There were warning signs if I had paid attention, but I wasn't paying attention because it was too big. It was too big for me to admit to myself. So it might look like all of a sudden you're feeling a little bit more checked out, or you've seen increasingly you're more resistant to new things happening, new initiatives, new changes, new projects. It might be for one of your team members that they just seem to be skipping work or leaving early much more regularly, or maybe they're all of a sudden super noisy and lots of complaining, or they're more cynical, or they're just always exhausted, or it looks like a lot of these things. Burnout is one of those major clues, and I want to be clear on this. Change fatigue includes burnout, but it is not the same as burnout. Burnout you can solve by a sabbatical, and in fact, that's what I thought I was experiencing. So boy, did I take one last year. I thought I was only taking a couple months off, and I ended up taking almost a year off. Now, most people do not have the capacity, the capability for just taking a year off. Let's face it, I'm in a very privileged position to be able to do that. I don't have children. I don't have a spouse. So it's just me, and I used my savings. I decided it was worth it for me. But you probably don't have that capability. If it were just burnout, I would have come back in 3 months and been like, let's get after it. Truth was, there were bigger things happening. External pressures, things were changing in terms of the client landscape that I was working under. It was previously a diversity, equity, and inclusion focused business. And of course, after the 2024 election, there was very much a referendum on DEI, and we've seen a lot of those initiatives really dry up. So I knew I needed to change everything about my business in order to adapt to the changing external circumstances, but I did not have the internal resources to do it. So burnout was a part of it, but it wasn't the only thing. And so before you take a sabbatical, blow up your life, move to Paris, hey, start an Etsy shop, whatever it is, whatever you think the fix is going to be, I just have to tell you, no matter what, you take you with you wherever you go. So if you haven't created space for yourself to manage your change fatigue, if you haven't had a practice of regulating, if you haven't had a practice of building coalitions, if you don't have a practice of evaluating what's really going on below the surface and creating those regular release valves for yourself, it's just gonna keep going. I'm sorry, honey, I hate to tell you that it's terrible news, but it's true. Okay, so on this webinar today, we are going to dig into what's happening. We're gonna help you understand why, and I'm gonna give you some pro tips on release valves. I have courseware. If you are interested in going much deeper and doing a hands-on deep dive, you can find those courses at cultivate-empathy.com, or there's a link in the show notes here. If this is your first time experiencing Cultivate Empathy, I am very much a fan of you got to put in the work to get out the benefit. So what it means is I'm going to ask you to go to some hard places, but I'm not going to leave you there alone. Okay? I'm going to be right by your side as we do this. All right. So I want to start with the first thing, which is acknowledging what the hell is happening. All right. And so this is the question. How bad is your change fatigue right now? Right now. Here's the deal. It changes moment to moment, day to day, hour to hour, second to second in some cases. But right now, I want you to be honest. Just take your pen and write down, where are you on the scale of 1 to 10? 1, you probably shouldn't be here because you have zero change fatigue. You're like, I can take on anything. 100% capacity for change. Bring on change. I'm a fan of change. Change is amazing. I don't know why you're here. I'm glad to see you here, but honestly, I don't think that's what your number is going to be. You might be a 5, an average capacity. You feel like you can take on some things. You've already got a lot on your plate, but you can take on some things, no problem. You are probably somewhere in the 7 to 10 range. Most people who end up on this video are because they're in somewhere on that 7 to 10 range. So my friend, if you are at a 9 where you're like, one more Slack message and I'm gonna die, or you're literally like, I'm just gonna go join a monastery where nothing ever changes ever again and I'm gonna have the same day every day for the rest of my life. If you're there, I see you, I understand it, it's okay. Hold on though, take a breath, because it's not gonna be this way every single day. There's a show called Unbreakable, the Kimmy Schmidt story on Netflix, and I love it. There's one like scene that we end up getting callbacks for the rest of the series where she's like, you can do anything for 7 seconds. And so all you need to do is just hold on for these 7 seconds. Just keep turning the crank for 7 seconds, count to 7, and then you can start back over at 1, and you got this, and you're gonna get through it, okay? So I just want you to take a breath, recognize it's not always gonna be this way. You're just here right now. Okay, we have to acknowledge what's going on before we can move through it. Okay. So here's what's actually happening in your brain. Physiologically, we are emotional creatures. Our brain and bodies are hardwired to respond to threats exactly the same way our ancient ancestors did. That means any kind of predator shows up and our brain has a full-on physiological stress response. That means you get flooded with hormones to fight it, to hide, to run away, or to befriend it, right? That's the fight, flight, freeze, and fawning responses, your choices. You're ready to take it on. Once that threat hits, you take an action, one of those four, and then the threat resolves and you come back together. And because we are a social species, we need physical touch and to look in each other's eyes and say, that really did happen, didn't it? It really did happen, didn't it? And that is only when we can get to calm. So we have to complete the stress cycle of validation, empathy, before we can get to resolution, before we can get back to a calm state. So friends, if you're joining me only on audio, let me describe what this graph is showing us. This is the physiological, which is also emotional, cycle of change, okay? So it turns out our bodies are also going through and experiencing stress of change in a similar way that we experience predator attack, okay? So at first, with change, unlike a predator, we are optimistic about it. We're like, ooh, well, it must be good if we're going to change this, because the only way we make a decision to change is if the thing that we're doing right now isn't working out. If we know that it's bad for us, then we have to fix it, right? So we have to change it. So we have this like uninformed optimism, this very Pollyanna-esque experience where we're like, this is going to be amazing. None of my problems will exist anymore. Everything's going to be so much better, right? And so you get into it, and then shortly thereafter, you end up in informed pessimism. Okay, what this means is it's sort of like, well, we know it's all right. It's not going to make everything better, but it's going to make some things better. And some things might get worse, so it's going to be hard. And I'm going to have feelings about it. And this is going to be a little bit challenging. And I got to deal with so-and-so through this. So you have informed pessimism, right? But where we get stuck is in stage 3, which is the valley of despair. It makes me think of the Princess Bride, right? Like, you are in the cave of despair and you will never leave here. Yes, that's what it feels like. And in fact, what the change management specialists have found out is that in most cases, people quit in the valley of despair. They quit the change. It's too hard. I don't see a way out of it. All of the problems are insurmountable. This change is not helping me. It is, in fact, it's way worse than it was before. So I'm just going to go back. So they quit and they go backwards to whatever was working not really before, or they abandon it altogether and hope that somehow or another it's going to solve itself. But because that doesn't work, then they go back into the cycle of change. Maybe it's a different approach or a different product or a different person, who knows what it is, but they try it again. And so you go back to stage 1, uninformed optimism, then you get to stage 2, informed pessimism, and you end up in the valley of despair again. What the change management specialists have found is that this happens over and over and over again. And in fact, what's really going on, why you're experiencing change fatigue, is that this isn't just happening for one change in your life, it's happening for all of the changes in your life. And so you've got compounded valleys of despair. It's just despair upon despair upon despair. Everything feels so much harder. Everything feels impossible. Everything feels like you're never going to get through this messy middle and into the actual benefit of this change. So the stage 4, what we're trying to get to is informed optimism. Like, oh, okay, so I've worked through all the challenges. Now I know what the benefits are going to be. And because I know what the benefits are going to be, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I still understand the limitations, and I still understand the things that it's not going to fix, but I'm going to get there. I'm going to keep pushing. And that actually allows people to finally finish the emotional cycle of change, which is success and fulfillment, the completion of that cycle. Our brains have cycles, our bodies have cycles. We need the cycles to complete themselves. So how we get out of the valley of despair is got to push through to informed optimism. So how do we do that? That is the question, right? Well, first and foremost, we need to understand why we're in despair in the first place. Now, as I said, our brains love cycles. Our brains are also just master storytellers. That's what our brains are designed to do. In fact, it's kind of impressive once you start seeing the world in stories. It's not about things that are happening. It's what we make, the meaning that we make, the meaning we derive from the events that are happening. You can have two people experiencing the exact same thing and take away completely different consequences or understandings of what just happened. And that's all based on personal experience. It's based on context. It's based on expectations. All of those things, each one of those pieces are stories that are happening in our heads. So in order to get to the why, I want to really encourage you to dive into self-awareness. Now, if you're a practitioner of self-awareness already, you probably already understand this, but if you're unfamiliar with it, it is really trying to dig through the like surface layer of like what happened. What's happening is that our brain can't differentiate between a tiger, a literal predator, and the email that this person sent you that felt so dismissive and terrible and like just disrespectful. Your brain is experiencing that email the same that it experiences the tiger attack. But it's not just that he sent the email to you. It's not just that she said this terrible thing to you. It's what you're making it mean. So self-awareness is uncovering, unpacking, not only the story, but how it resonates with past traumas or things that we have had as a pattern of experiences in our life and that we're judging ourselves for. It's these disconnections between our conscious self and our subconscious self. And so ourselves, if you will. And so if we do a practice of self-awareness to understand why the valley of despair is even happening, that's going to give us the keys to move out of despair and into informed optimism. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of what I mean by the story and how to unpack it. So it's never just about the thing, right? It's never just about the email. It's never just about the words, is what you make it mean. For example, it's never just about the cookie. Okay, so this was many years ago, and I have 3 siblings, and we were all at my parents' house, spouses, their kids, it's a group of people, it's 18 people, something like that. And so we're all hanging out, and my mom wanders into the living room where most of us are hanging out, and she said, your dad asked me to make some crispy cookies. Would you prefer crispy cookies or chewy cookies? And we said, Mom, if he wants crispy cookies, we would happily eat your crispy cookies. Whatever cookie you want to make is fine. My mom is a wonderful baker, and I saw her face fall at this, and she turned and went into the kitchen. And so I waited a few minutes, and I just felt some tension coming from the kitchen. And so I kind of went in and checked on her and just gently kind of asked her to tell me what was going on. And the more we kind of dug into it, she finally was able to reveal that for her, because she had always made chewy cookies, she was thinking that we liked her chewy cookies, and it turns out that none of us really do, and that we like her we want crispy cookies instead. And for her, it felt like maybe she had just been failing as a mother this whole time because she didn't know what her children liked. And it's heartbreaking. And I'm sure parents, all of you, can recognize and maybe even relate to this kind of thing. We were not trying to give her a referendum on her parenting by saying we wanted crispy cookies because dad wanted crispy cookies. We literally didn't have a strong opinion. We were just happy to get anything that mom baked, right? So from our perspective, it was like, mom's going to bake, yay. From her perspective, she's like, what do you mean? I've been baking the wrong cookies all of my life with you, It was awful, right? And she was just feeling so hurt. And so if we could unpack it, it wasn't actually ever about the cookie at all. It was her feeling insecure about her motherhood, about her parenting, about her relationship with her children and grandchildren, right? So it just became an exemplar of it. Here's another one. This is a work-related one. So a friend of mine, we're talking a while ago, and she was describing this call that she had, this Zoom call with a potential new client. Now, she's the only female executive at this very small startup. And she was griping to me. She's like, I couldn't believe this guy, our head of sales, and he showed up, and it was like an 8 a.m. call, but it was really clear, like he hadn't even brushed his hair, and he was like wearing a kind of wrinkled shirt, and like the angle on the Zoom was like he was on his couch, and so I could see straight up his nose, and it was like he really needed a trim in there, and it was just so disgusting, and we were laughing about it, but also she was feeling really upset, and I was kind of digging in with her because I'm like, it's never just about the nose hairs, right? It's never just about that. So what's really going on the surface? Like, why does him coming up as being disheveled, why is that making you upset? And she said, well, I can't imagine. Can you imagine if I showed up disheveled? I'm like, yeah, what would have happened if you showed up disheveled? And she's like, I don't think I would have gotten any respect. And, it sucks because I'm the only woman on this team and I have to show up perfectly done up in order just to be taken seriously. Right? There it is. It's never just about the nose hairs, friend. So this is the process of uncovering the why behind the valley of despair. So I encourage you to take some time. You can either pause the video now or do this later, but keep asking yourself why until you get to the actual core thing. Why is this change causing despair? What are you feeling specifically? Why are you feeling that feeling? Keep asking why that feeling until you get to something that you go, oh, there it is, which I like to call the soul punch. It's sort of this like, all right, there it is. It's like in Operation where you hit the side of the wall and just the buzz, like you feel it. You feel it in your gut, right? So get to the why so you can really deeply understand what's going on. Once you're aware of the story that you're telling yourself, then it's easy to be like, oh, well, obviously that's not really what's happening. But you can see why you needed to show yourself some compassion. You needed to show yourself a little bit of grace. And you haven't been doing that. You've been just forcing yourself to keep achieving, to keep succeeding, to keep doing, to keep going. And you actually need a little bit more compassion. Okay, so I want to talk to you next about team culture because this is really important too. A lot of times what happens is it's maybe you have a great self-awareness practice, but you're in a team culture that doesn't allow you to confront what's really happening. Maybe talking about change fatigue is totally taboo and you have a situation where like you have understood that you cannot even express when you're having doubts about something. Suppressing any kind of thing like that is it's gonna bubble up eventually, am I right? Well, here's the thing. Let me tell you the viewpoint from an anthropology lens about culture. Culture is anything that is unwritten, unspoken, but is a constantly being co-created idea of what normal is. It's being constantly and unconsciously co-created by all of its members. So it's a series of these like unwritten, unspoken rules that define normal for us. And when things go wrong, when we have a culture that is completely overwhelmed by the amount of changes happening and we're not talking about it, and you are feeling overwhelmed by it and not talking about it, we're making all kinds of assumptions that I'm the only one that can't handle it, and I'm the only one who's thinking about it, and I'm the only one with this anxiety, and I'm the only one with no capacity. It's a really interesting thing that humans have evolved to be able to better handle situations when we feel like we're in it together. I'm going to say that again. We can better handle things when we feel like we're in it together. So if your team culture is not functioning to help support you through your change fatigue, or you have created a situation unconsciously with the members of your team that we just don't talk about things, it's going to create toxic work environments, right? That's not healthy for you or anyone else. Now, it doesn't mean you want to dwell there, but you do want to be able to acknowledge it, right? Acknowledge, evaluate, and then release valves, okay? So with your team culture, I want you to ask yourself this really important thing. What are the things that you are focusing on right now that are unintentionally creating the wrong culture? This could be as simple as we are focusing on delivering the things that we've always delivered. And is that actually something that you should be doing is a good question you should ask. Like, is that actually truly what's expected of us? If we're delivering high quality but low quantity and we are perfectionists and we are spending so much time on that last 10% of any project to complete it that we are actually missing people's expectations because they want higher quantity and they don't care as much about quality? Is it reversed? You're delivering so many things but they're middling quality and people would actually prefer it to be better quality? Are you normalizing perhaps that everyone works 7 days a week and that is just normal and this is what we do? Is that really true? Is that something that you want? Does everybody want to be working 7 days a week? Could it be that you could actually shut off your communications at 7 p.m. every day and not turn them on again until 8 a.m. the next day, and unless there's an emergency? These are things that we're unconsciously co-creating normal. What are the things you are focusing on that are unintentionally creating the wrong culture? So I'm going to encourage you to take 5 minutes today. You can pause this video. You can, do it later tonight. Write yourself a little note, put a rubber band around your wrist, whatever it is. But take 5 minutes and just write down what are the assumptions I'm making that are actually unintentionally creating the wrong culture, creating an unhealthy culture in my team. Okay, so now that we've done that work, I want to take a little bit of an emotional regulation minute, because we've just dug into some difficult things that are hard to face and sometimes can become overwhelming. And we don't always have a ton of time. I'm not asking you to go meditate for 20 minutes or go work out for an hour. What I'm asking you to do is just take 30 seconds. We're going to take 30 seconds right now to do a little bit of emotional regulation. Now I'm going to give you 3 options. The first one is non-negotiable. Everybody, listen up. I want you to put your feet flat on the floor. And if you're standing, you can remain standing. But if you're sitting, I want you to wiggle your butt. I want you to feel your sits bones on the seat. Okay? Create a relaxed posture for yourself. And now you have 3 choices. Choice number 1, take your toes and curl them. Curl and hold for 5 seconds and then release. Do that 10 times. Option number 2, look outside. And I want you to scan the horizon slowly from left to right, left to right. Or option 3 is box breathing. Now, if you've already started toe curling or horizon scanning, keep going. I'm going to do box breathing now for the next 30 seconds, okay? So box breathing, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, hold, exhale. Inhale, hold, exhale. One more time. Hold and exhale. Okay, do a little shaky shake. I like to say, animals love to shake their entire bodies to shake off excess emotional energy. We need to do the same. So go ahead, shake it out, move all around, release it a little bit. Okay, and now we're back. Recharging is the lifeblood of your ability to manage your change fatigue. So breathing, important for just daily emotional regulation. You got to do it. And at least once a day, if not several times a day. And then releasing. So you're releasing the tension. You got to make room. You got to expand your capacity. But the only way for you to really manage your change fatigue is to do things that actually fill your cup. You got to put back in. Because I know as a longtime leader myself, I put everyone ahead of me. I put everyone's needs ahead of my own. I put everyone else in the primary position, and I forget about little me. There's a mantra that I've been using now for several months, which is this: I am very protective of the people that I care about. I'm very protective. In fact, I will go to bat for them. I will fight hard for the people that I care about. But often I forget that I'm also me. I'm a person that I care about as well. Yeah. It's still hard for me. I've said it so many times to myself, and yet I still have that it's confronting, right? How are you filling your cup? How are you getting support? Are you getting support? Who is supporting you? How are you receiving it? What are you doing to help make sure that you are not running off to Mexico and joining a monastery, or Mexico to start an Etsy shop, or to just be a professional surfer? Who cares? Nobody will care. My kids won't miss me, right? Whatever it is. What are you doing to prevent that from happening? Who is holding space for you? And friends, if you do not have a dedicated resource, please, I would love to be that for you. I'm a certified emotional intelligence coach. I am here for you. I know what you're going through. I understand it deeply. I also have tools for you to use so that you can be a better steward of your own energy and be able to show up as your best self at work and at home. So please get in touch with me. If you haven't already, links below to come to my website sign up for a course on managing change fatigue. You go a lot deeper on this. There's a journal that goes with it. It's very dedicated to helping you weed through what's actually going on, uncover those stories, get yourself out of that valley of despair and into informed optimism so that you're more at a 5 or a 6 on the change fatigue rather than a 7 to a 10 on the change fatigue scale. And then over time, we can get you down into the 4 and 5 range. It's really important for your long-term health. I highly recommend that you do this for yourself. It's great work. That you don't need to talk to me. You can just take the courseware and just go about your business. But if you do want somebody who's going to give you dedicated time, imagine if you knew on the day where you're like, I'm going to throw this freaking phone across the room. If you knew that you had an hour with me scheduled on your calendar for the next day, that you knew you could just unpack it all and let it go and let me fill your cup. Let me help you fill your cup. I'm here for you. So please, thank you. Send me feedback. I want to hear from you. What resonated most with you? What were some aha ideas that you hadn't heard before that you found really compelling? Let me know. Please get in touch with me. I'm on YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn and would love to see you there as well. So stay in touch, stay safe, stay sane as much as possible, and I'll see you on the next one.